I would wake up in the middle of the night and just like soak in cold sweats thinking, I'm going to go to the grave with this. On the way to New York, I would think about driving my car into a bridge abutment just to be done. And then I'd be like, no, I can't do that because I don't want to meet the Lord this way either.
So Joel and I met in high school. I was a sophomore, he was a senior.
She walked into a study hall that I happened to be in, and I noticed her.
And he asked me to the prom, and I said yes. And that was pretty much it from there. And got married when I was 19 and he was 21.
I worked in New York City as a bridge builder, basically doing bridge construction.
He was commuting an hour and a half each way to work, at least, maybe sometimes longer, working 8, 10, 12, 15-hour days sometimes.
Typically, the jobs would get a little bit slower in the winter, so I would always raise my hand for layoff. And I was pretty much a full-time ski pro and be on snow full-time from November through April.
Life seemed okay to me. I felt in control. We were busy and not always spending a lot of time together, but in my mind, it was just because of the stage of life. We had started going to a church. They announced that Life Action was coming to do a summit, and they were going to be there for 11 days. There was a pre-summit one Sunday, and there was a testimony by a man. And in his testimony, he shared that as a result of the summit, the first day, his wife wanted to talk to him, and end result was they both confessed that they had been unfaithful. And he went on to say that his marriage was stronger than it had ever been before. I think I just thought it was a great story, wow, that's really neat that God can do that sort of thing. But I don't think I sat there thinking that I needed the summit for me.
So I was on a ski trip out in Utah when the pre-summit came to the church. I came home and I remember I was in the bathroom and I was changing and Melanie walked in and she said, Joel, these people came to the church today. They're called Life Action. So then she goes on to talk about the man that shared the testimony at the pre-summit. So I remember her telling me this story, and I'm like, this is like God has like I have a bullseye on me, and like there's no way. I'm thinking there's no way if this is what Life Action's about. There's no way I can go to it, because at that point I was so fragile. Like I had been to the church service and I could hardly sit in the seat at the end when the pastor would kind of give the altar call and stuff. Like I was like just about coming apart then. So I'm like, if this is what Life Action's about, there's no way I can go to that. There's no way I won't be able to handle it. So I drove separate to church.
He usually had a plan to go do something after church on Sunday. And so we always drove separately. And so that Sunday, he had plans to go fly fishing.
We got there and the service started. And I remember the part that got me was at the end of it. Lane asked all the men to come forward and pray for a revival for their church. I wanted to go. In the worst way, I wanted to go up front. I couldn't go forward and make myself look like something before God that I wasn't.
And I just sat there kind of thinking, like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you going up there? You were my godly husband. Like, why are you still standing here? He turned to me and said, I need you to take the kids to your mom's. And I need you to come meet me at the stream to go fly fishing. And I said, okay. So I showed up at the stream. And as soon as I got there, he turned around to me and was just crying. And he went on to confess that he had been unfaithful and that he had been in a relationship with someone that he worked with in the ski industry for the last 10 years.
There was a younger girl that was on staff and just had a nice conversation. And then it's like, you want to have another conversation and you want to talk more. And it was just kind of like the frog being in hot water. You start off in the warm water, it's comfortable, and the temperature slowly rises, and before you know, wow, I've crossed the line. And I just violated everything that I've committed to with my wife.
I felt betrayed. As I asked questions, he had courage to give me true answers.
It just kind of hit her, and I've never heard my wife cry like that before in my life, and there wasn't anything I could do.
I just didn't know what was happening next. Not sure of what this looked like from there. But through that whole conversation that afternoon, the only thing that kept ringing through my head was the story of this man from 6 weeks prior, that him and his wife both confessed being unfaithful, and his statement was that their marriage was stronger than it had ever been before. I think that there was still hope because of the testimony I heard. And I think that if I had not heard that testimony, I'm not sure, but that afternoon before we left the stream, I met him when I was 15 years old. I remember saying to him, I love you, I've always loved you, and I forgive you. And so God was really preparing my heart all along the way for that moment. And I remember saying to Joel that I feel like God is going to use our story for something. Don't know what that is or how he'll do it, but I just feel like, if we're willing, that he'll use it to glorify himself. We went back home, got our kids, went back to church because there was an evening session of the summit. And what I had anticipated reluctance on Joel's part in going to the summit.
I couldn't wait to get back. We could not wait to get back. And we didn't miss a minute.
God really used that whole entire summit, that 11 days, to really pour grace over us and really bring about a lot of healing in a short time. There was still a lot of stuff we had to work through, a lot of trust that we had to rebuild, but God's been faithful. And our marriage now is truly stronger than it's ever been. We were ready to join the team when they left that day. And we just have such a passion for the way God uses Life Action to just tear down the walls and bring transparency. And today I'm serving with Revive Our Hearts as operations director. Joel serves at the camp as facilities manager.
The tapestry, the hodgepodge tapestry of my life has made a quilt that just seems to fit perfect for camp ministry. So God's using my hands in the ministry.
Still just can't believe where God has taken this from that day on the stream to being here and being able to serve and being able to see these stories on a daily basis. I think of how different our lives might have been had I discovered this in a different context. I don't think if I could go back in time and could say, this is the path you're going to go on, or you can choose this one, I don't think I would have chosen it. But looking back, I can see that my life today, my walk with the Lord, my relationship with my husband, with my kids would not be the same had it not been for walking through that.